Welcome to the
Skypodcast. Grabe daw talaga yung story behind it. It's not as straightforward as most of us thought.
Yeah. I mean, what goes on in the life of a conservationist? You would love to know.
That's gonna be an interesting question. Hi, Nako. It really is more difficult than that, no? I mean, when we always say that the tourism, the education side, that's the fun part of things, right? Talking to people who are eager to learn, who are there to enjoy, to get to know the place. That's the fun part of what we do. But the more difficult part really all happens at the back end, right? Where we restore forests and protect it from people who want to do illegal activities inside. So that's where the difficulty lies, and it's always a challenge, day by day, especially in the last, especially in the last weeks. Our rangers face harassment regularly, in the last months.
Sorry pero sobrang ignorant ako when it comes to like a georeserve. What is it? Do you own the place or paano ba yun? Like, do you have rights to the place or how does it work?
Well, we really landed in the area from a joint venture agreement that we had with the NR, but it is untitled land. Hindi siya rights thing. It's meant to be a conservation development.
Uh-huh.
That's the model that we were following for the area. So it's supposed to be a conservation financing strategy.
Okay.
I mean, you guys might not know it, but if you talk about the Philippines, the financing gap is at 80%, ganyan. So parang ito yung mga mas at scale na financing mechanisms to engage the private sector in participating in conservation. So that's how we basically got in. It's not, private sector landowners engaging in conservation. We don't really have legislation around that in the country, but it's something that's utilized in other places. So that's what we wanted to try out when we had this contract with DNR. So the deal was we basically finance, develop, manage everything. And then DNR is supposed to help with the enforcement end. No. So, and then we remit shares to DNR for the work that we do. So, that's how it got started. And then we landed on a reforestation agreement with Secretary Gina Lopez. That was back in 2017. So that's how we got engaged for restoring land around Masungi Georeserve. So if before we were taking care of, and we managed to restore some 400 hectares of land, now we were in charge of restoring some 2,700 hectares of land. So
massive.
it quadrupled. Yeah, it quadrupled. And because of that, the challenges also, quadrupled in some way.
Right.
Yeah.
Inimagine ko lang yung 2,000 hectares of land. I'm thinking in my head, like, just to put a picture kung gaano yun kalaki. Like, an 18-hole golf course is around 60 hectares.
So it's 2,700 hectares. I can't even imagine how big that is. There's no picture in my brain.
The tourism is the one financing the
Upkeep of the whole
Upkeep of the-
conservation effort.
Ganyan
Yeah,
ba?
that's now, that's now how it works. So parang, it really started a long time ago, right? This project really started all the way back in the 1990s. So it started with my dad and his team and his
Wow.
associates and friends. I entered in 2015, and that was what gave birth to the Masungi Georeserve brand and the tourism and the education components of it. So I did that because I really wanted financing to be much more sustainable for the place, right? It can't just be dole out na lang forever kasi it's such a huge area. Like what you said, I've just done a quick computation, and if you're talking about a 60-hectare golf course, that would be about 45 golf courses.
Wow.
That would be the size
First of all,
it.
that's quick math.
So,
Second, yeah, 45. Amazing. 45. Wow. I can't, wala siya sa brain ko. Hindi ma-process.
Oo, kung gaano
Gaano
yun
kalaki.
kalaki.
How? That must
It's
be
huge.
almost impossible to secure.
Or to protect, yeah.
Or to protect. Kasi ang laki ng land. Parang isang city, di ba?
Oh, it's definitely challenging, no? Especially we're such a young team.
Right.
Almost everyone in our team are millennials. And then we have to deal with this much of a challenge. Well, we just get on with it. Actually, as far as conservation goes, this is quite small. When you talk about protected areas, they're literally huge landscapes, right? Like portions of the reforestation site that we work on is part of the Upper Marikina watershed river basin, which is really tens and thousands of hectares. Now, the problem with watersheds for us is not really a problem now, pero most of the time, watersheds in protected areas are government protected and government managed. But if you look at the parks system or the protected area system in the country, it's also still very young. And like what I said a while ago, not exactly treated as a priority. So the financing gap is at 80% to implement the protection needs for these areas plus our biodiversity. So kaya to an extent, if you look at international papers, it would say that at this point in time, we still have our paper parks or paper protected areas, meaning they're protected on legislation. But when it comes to implementation, when it comes to on-the-ground presence, wala, and there are gaps. Yeah.
When you say 80% like payment gap ba yun? And what does that? Financing gap? What does that mean? Like,
So there's a biodiversity strategic action plan that our government has. So it outlines what we need to reach our targets and quotas when it comes to conservation. And of course, there's a financial aspect to that. So when you look at the budget that our national government has, ayun, the gap for it is at 80%.
Oh no.
That's what I
That's so
mean.
sad.
It is sad. And I just hope that people, really come to the realization of how important these spaces are and these watersheds are.
Yeah.
They're not just...
Yeah.
I mean,
Ako sobrang
hindi lang
hilig
sila
ako to
puno.
watch. Yeah.
Hindi lang sila puno,
Oo.
totoo.
Like I'm so fond of watching nature shows. So yung mga David Attenborough. Tapos, it's very sad to see like rainforest, even sa Philippines, like parang 90% of our rainforest is gone. Like parang ganyan yung numbers. Like when I was watching it, like parang wow, ganyan na pala tayo na level.
And then it makes us think na, grabe no, we're so destructive as humans. Like everything in the world is coexisting. And it's so beautiful, all this biodiversity and this circle of life. And then here we are as humans claiming everything and then just destroying everything for our personal benefit.
That's true.
It's so sad. If you guys want to hear the full episode, you can
Check us out on Spotify.
Spotify.
It's free, guys. It's free.
See you there.
Skypodcast.
Skypodcast.